Hello, I'm Brigham Avery, and welcome to Hollywood and Ivy, where Sunset Boulevard meets Addison and Clark. The show where we get to know celebrity Cub fans from the entertainment world as we take you from Wrigley Field to the red carpet. Today we welcome a man who's hotter than Chicago in August. He's currently the lead actor on Better Call Saul, one of TV's most popular shows. And his character, Saul Goodman, has quickly become legendary. Raised in Naperville, an alumni of Second City, Saturday Night Live, and a true blue Cub fan, welcome Bob Odenkirk. Today I'm in the presence of greatness. Welcome Bob Odenkirk.
And I'm
wonderful
here
to have you here. Bob, what is your earliest memory of the Cubs and being a Cub fan?
Absolutely, it's just WGN and the Cubs being on every afternoon. And so we pop the TV on in the afternoon and watch some Cubs. But then later, my grandpa became a diehard Cubs fan. Now, he was a Sox fan when he was growing up because he grew up 4 blocks from Comiskey. And so the first games he took me to were Sox games when I was really little. And the first time I ever went to Wrigley was a Bears game. Then when I moved to Chicago, when I was out of college and I moved to Pine Grove right off Addison, well, then I could just go to a Cubs game so easily. And in the afternoon, I mean, I think bleacher seats were $7. And a lot of days you could just wander over there and buy a seat and go sit in the bleachers. It was great. Your
first Cubs game, Bob, how old were you? Who took you? And what was your impression?
The first Cubs game I went to, I'm going to guess I was 11. And it was right when I would say my grandpa, I had an uncle who was a crazy diehard Cubs fan, and everyone kind of switched over to the Cubs. But just because they were so accessible. Now, the White Sox were on Channel 32, and the signal wasn't very good. And so, yeah. Also, you're a kid, and you're gonna, those daytime things on TV, you see them. Especially on a hot summer day, you go swimming, you come home, and you're kind of wiped out in that great way that you are as a kid after you swim.
With the summer heat, you're exhausted.
It's just great.
Yeah.
And then you put the TV on, there's Cubs.
Absolutely.
The first game I went to, I'm going to say I was around 10 or 11. And that would be where I learned that Wrigley Field can actually be cold. Even if it's sunny out, you can be kind of cold.
What's your favorite part about Wrigley Field? What do you enjoy the most about the friendly confines?
The vibe in that place is unbelievably special. And those are things that I don't even know if you can engineer. It's a little bit, it's not so uniform, right? It's an old stadium. It's 1914, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, the bleachers are built up now. It's different than it was, but it still feels patched together a bit, homemade. The ivy is amazing. The closeness of everybody, you know, it feels like an old, very old place in a great way, like you're part of history. It just feels like what baseball should feel like. And you can just feel like you'd spend all day there, which baseball games go on a long time.
Fergie was your favorite player growing up.
Well, he's certainly somebody I noticed, and he was a great pitcher, and it's the name that sticks in your head, you know. Ron Santo, Pepitone, Fergie Jenkins, and everybody in that. And Leo DeRocher was the coach. Mm-hmm. That's the team that I first started to watch.
The '69 Cubs is your earliest memory.
Yeah, I probably more like 70.
Mm-hmm. As a young man in Chicago, you worked and lived about 5 or 6 blocks from Wrigley Field, and you said that you would get off work at 12:30 or something, and you go to the 120 games every day. Do you have any famous tales from the bleachers?
I wish I'd gone more.
Sure.
I love the vibe up there. It was really relaxed. There's a great play, Bleacher Bums, that is really fun. I've seen it a couple times. Mm-hmm. When I was younger. I just loved it. I loved the ability to just walk in. I don't think you can do that anymore. I don't know. But boy, I could just wander over there. I worked at Cozy's Cyclery, which was on Clark. And there's all these people gathering. Oh, I'll just go to a game. And it's just the best. Now, I also watch the games, not the whole game, but you could see the field. You probably know about this famous, you can ask Garland about it. Garland and Conan O'Brien had this apartment for the summer.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
And
yes.
on the porch out back, you could watch home plate.
Wow.
Yeah.
You could stand right and then
could
look
watch
right.
the hitter.
Oh my gosh.
Winning the World Series changed how I felt about the Cubs. As far as like, it's not just this thing that you go, well, they're there and I like them and I like the vibe, but like, I want them to win. I think they can do it. That's weird. It's like you stopped really believing that that was possible.
Yes, and then your system of beliefs was
and then
rebuilt.
what you did and the reason you went was not that. That was not a factor in why you were going.
It was the experience. It was seeing Wrigley Field. It wasn't seeing a winning team.
And you
It
might
was
like a couple individuals on the team who are having a great season, but you stopped having that feeling. I did, and I think a lot of people, of like, what are they doing? How are they building? How are they getting better? You know, I like learning about the new guys, but I don't know everybody on the team. But I'm watching them now. I'm watching them try to build a team.
Right.
And that is just not something I would have done years ago. It was just the Cubs are there. It's great. You want to go to a game? Let's go.
Right.
No expectation.
Yes, let's enjoy it for what they are.
Yeah.
We don't have expectations for winning at all. Yes.
Right.
Do you have a favorite Cubs player who's not Fergie Jenkins, a favorite position player?
I met Ernie Banks when I was 8 or 9. And he signed a baseball for me.
He was an amazingly kind person.
Really good guy.
Yeah.
And I like Christopher Morel.
Very talented.
Yeah, this new guy.
Yeah.
Narciso
Amazing.
Crook is also a guy who, look, I am not deep in the woods on players and all that, but there's these, YouTube is so great. There's wonderful things like top prospects for the Cubs. And, you know, I mean, I don't have time to figure that out, but you press a button and you can, in
it's all right there. It's so
15
accessible.
minutes, you can learn all these players, and Narciso was on the list of the top prospects. So I heard about him 2 weeks ago when I watched this video, and then here he's playing yesterday.
Right. You mentioned that your wife is not a sports fan at all. In fact, she won't be in the same room when the TV has sports on. But then you took her to Wrigley Field.
More than once.
What was that experience like?
So we've been to the games, probably 4 games together. But the kids came along pretty quickly, and I just didn't have time for sports. I mean, I had to work and write, and I had to pick a sport. Now, for years it was the Bears, but baseball still feels like a bunch of guys who you can get to know their personalities, and you get to know their style of play and their friendships and their vibe. And it's very old-fashioned in that way, and I know that they're always trying to think of ways to make it more modern, I guess. But it's a wonderful thing because it retains these qualities that so much of our life has lost.
Stick around. We'll be back with more on Hollywood and Ivy after this. You mentioned Fergie before. If you had to pick between Ferguson Jenkins, Greg Maddux, and Jake Arrieta to get a win for you, who are you picking, Bob?
Well, I do think you'd have to pick Jake because I think that pitching's changed a lot. And I was watching a bunch of Fergie Jenkins clips the other day, and he was great. And I'm sure if he had the opportunity, if there was a time machine and you could bring him to now, he could use all that we've learned and they've learned about pitching to change his pitches. I just think it's just more precise and it's just jacked up a bit now from that time.
Do you have a favorite Cubs team that did not win the World Series?
I would definitely go back to the team I talked about, Pepitone and Fergie Jenkins and Santo, because and Jack Brickhouse in the announcer booth, because I was that's when I was playing baseball a lot and wanting to play and being on teams called the Cubs. My first team was the Cubs when I was 9. And so that's the team I saw as a kid. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the new Wrigleyville and a lot of the statues?
I love it. I love what they've done to Wrigley. I love that park area outside. I love the clubhouse underneath. If you get a chance to go and use that bar and that club area, that's really great. I enjoyed it. I don't think everyone gets to go in there, but I hope everyone gets a chance to at some point. In the end, the seats are great. The stadium's great. You know, those changes are awesome, and they make it a modern place. And especially I like how they've groomed and fixed up the outside and made it welcoming and warm, you know. But it's the inside, and it's the same vibe, I think, from when I was a kid.
Did you meet Harry Carey? And I want to know who you think did the best job of singing the 7th inning stretch. Was it Harry? Was it somebody else, perhaps?
I think I did a pretty good job of it a couple times. I can't sing, but I spoke it. It was like a poetry slam.
Yes, yeah.
Right. And
you spoke the words.
Harry was the best.
Yeah.
And I never got to meet Harry. No, I didn't get to meet him.
In all your years, Bob, writing for Mr. Show and writing for Saturday Night Live, did you ever create any satire sketches where the Cubs would win the World Series? Like maybe a Fantasy Island satire, anything like that you'd written?
I did write the Bears fans, the super fans, with Robert Smigel, who invented the characters. And I helped write that, but that's because I'm a Chicago guy and I was able to give him a lot of references and things.
Of course.
I once wrote a short film for SNL called The Harlem Golf Trotters.
That's hilarious.
And they didn't make it. It would have been a lot of fun.
Ron Howard tells his story about when he was a youngster, Bob, and he was on Andy of Mayberry.
Yeah.
And they said to him, boy, oh boy, you know, they never have this chemistry on a show. We've really caught lightning in a bottle right now. And kid, this doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to about 15 years later when Ron is again on Happy Days.
Right.
And actors are saying that to him again. They're saying, boy, oh boy, this doesn't happen. You don't have the writing, the directing. We've caught lightning in a bottle.
Right.
You feel, in essence, you've kind of done the same thing with Breaking Bad and then again with Better Call Saul.
No question. Extremely lucky. Rare. And the fact that we're all friends, I mean, Ray Seahorn, Patrick Fabian, Michael Mando, Michael McKeon, John Banks, I mean, just Giancarlo Esposito, Tony Dalton. This is a crew of actors, all great at what they do, and then great friends and great work ethic. Everyone putting their mind to it and their heart and soul to it, and I think it is similar to Breaking Bad. Now, I was around Breaking Bad as a guest character actor. Yes, I was part of the cast in the later seasons, but I always felt like I was a little bit of extra there, a little extra taste to that story. The core group was established before me, and all due respect to them for creating that great show.
You're like the parsley on top of the steak.
But still, to have been a part of that 2 times, I mean, that's insane.
It's very rare.
It doesn't happen to people.
How did you get the role of Saul?
I got a phone call. I was sitting at my desk in Raleigh Studios. I was writing shows, and I was directing some movies, and I got a phone call from my agent, and he said, they're going to offer you a role. Don't say no. Vince Gilligan called me, and I didn't know the show. Very few people did. Nobody watched Breaking Bad in its first season. Almost nobody watched it in its second season. It took 3 seasons and 4 to start to be watched and noticed and
get traction.
Celebrated. Yeah. Some critics liked it. That was good. And Vince said, you know, this guy, he's a sleazy lawyer, bust-out bench lawyer. And I said, I have an idea for his hair. And he goes, yeah, what is it? I go, he's got a mullet in back, and he's got a comb over on top, and it's cleaned on the sides. And Vince goes, I think that'd work. Yeah, that's all right. And he went with it, which is really amazing, because now that I know Vince, I know how much thought and care he puts into every choice. You know, the clothes that I wear, the ties that I wear, everything is considered, thought about. Why is it this choice, you know, and not something else? So the fact that I pitched that to him before I saw anything, and he said, great, do that. And then we went ahead and did that. This show, I was supposed to do 3 or 4 episodes. They asked me if I could do 3 or 4. And I could only do 3 because I had to do How I Met Your Mother. I was doing a part on that occasionally. And so I said, I can't do 4. And then they invented the character of Mike to sort of fill the plot hole that existed because I was not available. So by creating Mike, then they kind of created this other show, because it was me and him to start Better Call Saul.
You know, in all your years, Bob, of writing for Saturday Night Live and then creating Mr. Show and everything you've done in television, who would you say is the funniest person that you've worked with or know? Like when I say, who is it? Who do you think of?
Farley.
Yeah. Chris Farley?
Yeah.
What did he bring?
I mean, I've been around some really funny people.
Oh, yeah.
To me, David Cross is really funny. He makes a lot of jokes. All day long, he makes wisecracks.
Right.
And they're very funny.
He's always
sharp.
on.
But Farley was, Sandler is super funny too. But Farley, is kind of undeniable to everybody. We did Second City together. I wrote motivational speaker for him, and he was just the best performer. He could have done anything. He could have done drama. If he'd lived, he would have done drama, and you would have been amazed. It would have been really something great. Some people are super funny, but they're sharp and cutting and harsh, maybe even. Chris was not that. He was very likable.
Was Chris Farley a big Cubs fan?
He'd go to a Cubs game, but I don't know if he was a big Cubs fan.
He was a Bears fan.
Maybe a Brewers
sure.
fan, I'm sorry to say. He grew up in
Madison.
Madison, yeah.
October 22nd is your birthday.
Yeah.
In 2016, was that an especially special celebration?
I will tell you, as you know, the effect that had on the city of Chicago was astounding.
7 million people at the Cubs' victory celebration.
Yeah. My mom, staunch Catholic, no sports in her. Not that separates you out, but her focus was on going to Mass. But she was thrilled that the Cubs won. My brother Bill, not a sports fan, writer for The Simpsons, very funny guy, doctorate in chemistry.
Oh, wow.
From University of Chicago, calling me up. Are you watching this?
They're Chicagoans. It's a civic.
Chicagoans.
It's a civic pride issue.
I would never have thought, as long as it's been since we won, and as hard as that has been at times, I would never have thought it had that resonance with people.
And the thing the networks did is they told the great story of people going to graveyards and having the radio there next to their dads.
Oh yeah, my grandpa
all that
would have been the great thing to show him. He would have just loved it so much. It changes how you think about everything. I mean, now here we talk about how are we going to rebuild? We can do it. It's just that belief that you didn't have in the back of your brain. Not that you didn't want the guys to win or didn't like the players or didn't think we've got a good team this year. Just some part of me, and I think a lot of people went, well, yeah, I mean, we don't have to talk about winning in the World Series. That's not, start thinking about that. That's not going to happen.
It reasserts your system of beliefs.
So much of life is about believing something can happen.
And accomplishing.
You don't even try something if you don't think it could happen.
Yes. After the Cubs were down 3-2 to Cleveland in the 2016 World Series, you predicted at that point, Bob, you said, after much pain, agony, and angst, the Cubs will come out victorious.
I just said that to TMZ.
Sure, no, but you look like you believed it.
No, I don't think I would have been mad. It would have been that big hole in my soul would have just been back in place where it is. And that's okay. That's life.
Stick around. We'll be back with more on Hollywood and Ivy after this. Where were you in 2016 when the curse we're talking about was broken? What do you remember about that?
I was in Albuquerque. I was shooting Better Call Saul. I was working really, really hard. I was watching every game. And I was in my condo, and I was talking to Jeff Garlin through most of the game, calling each other every couple innings, probably 3 times. And the third time was a really long phone call. And the Cubs were starting to lose runs.
During the comeback when Cleveland came back.
Yeah, this is when Aroldis Chapman was pitching, and there were two runs that tied him up. And it just looked like, this is so amazing to me. This says so much about growing up in Chicago. and being, a Cubs fan and being...
The devotion.
I remember watching the game, and so Garland and I are on the phone, and he starts complaining about the commercials, like really mad.
Right, like very ornery.
Yeah, really irate. But it really was just about being mad at the game. And then the rain delay happened, and then I stuck it out, but at a certain point I was like, I got to work tomorrow morning, probably at 5 a.m., right?
Right.
And this rain delay is going on. How long did it go on?
It was like 15 minutes, but it felt like 15
It felt
hours.
like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to go to sleep. We're not going to win. That's
Wow.
okay. That's the way it goes.
You were that resigned to feel that way.
I was so, I was so, even after that season, even after all we'd seen of those players.
And winning the pennant.
Even then, I was like, you know what? Yeah, come on. They're not going to win.
It's the Cubs.
Yeah, it's the Cubs.
Yeah.
And I go to bed. I don't fall asleep. And my brother Bill calls me. And I'm shocked that he was watching because he's not a sports fan. And he says, you gotta go back and watch this. You gotta go back and watch this. So, I mean, I probably missed, one at-bat.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah,
so you just laid down. It was about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was
see.
nothing. I wasn't asleep.
Yeah, you didn't really give up for that long.
Yeah, I also sat through most of the rain delay.
Sure.
Because I was like, I have to get up. And when you shoot a show, you're very often getting up, maybe even at 4:30. So I know I have to get up super early. I got to do a good job tomorrow. I can't. How long is this rain delay going to last? It could take an hour and a half. I don't know, 2 hours. So I said, I gotta go. But really what drove me to quit was just growing up in Chicago and just knowing, not angry, just knowing like that's the way it goes.
Right.
You don't win. And then they won, and it was insane. It was insane, as everyone knows.
You worked for many years with Michael McKeon. He was your older brother, Chuck, on Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Well, these guys who I acted opposite, Bryan Cranston, Michael McKeon, Jonathan Banks, but especially Bryan and Michael, because I had these sort of rich scenes with them, they made me better by a lot. I come from sketch comedy. I did Second City. I wrote comedy for most of my whole career, and it's kind of broad. Sketch comedy can be very broad and silly, and I had to really dial it in for Breaking Bad, and then even more so for Better Call Saul. So people like working opposite Michael McKeon, it grounds you, and it takes you to a place inside that's super present and powerful, like kind of, it's like your personality's coming out of your, exuding from your body. And it's from being with a guy, another person, any actor. Ray Seahorn feels like this to me too when we do scenes. They put you in that state. And so I've been very lucky to work with these great people who helped me get to that place. And Michael's definitely one of them. And I think it's so great that he played Chuck so well and got that opportunity, because people think he just did comedy, Lenny and Squiggy and stuff. He's a great actor.
You guys look a lot alike as brothers. Did people mention that? You guys could have been, with the hair specifically.
Yeah. I think it's very good that we look alike.
Yeah. Who would Saul Goodman root for in Major League Baseball? Who would his team be?
I think Yankees or Astros.
Of all the years on SNL, who would you feel, as a Cub, would make the best SNL cast member?
I think Schwarber has just got that likability. I don't know how good he is as a performer. I don't think he's probably very good, but he's just, you love the guy. That's good. That's worth a lot at SNL. Yeah.
Does it mean more because the city cares so much and they're such dedicated fans?
The World Series win means so much more than it should. It's weird.
When you go to Wrigley Field, because there is an outstanding offer to come sing the 7th inning stretch, are you going to change the lyrics to "Take Me Out to the Saul Game"?
Oh, I would
Has that been a thought?
I would never do that. I love the game too much, and in the end, Saul is a huge character for me and a wonderfully written part, but it's a part of a whole career. I'm as proud of the stuff I wrote at SNL, and certainly Mr. Show I'm equally proud of with Saul.
Bob, it's been great having you, and I'd just like to let you know we don't have a guest book here on Hollywood and Ivy. We do, however, have a guest ball. So I'm gonna throw that to you. There you go.
All
And we
right.
got a lucky Sharpie for you, too.
All right.
If you put that maybe right next to Joe Mantegna. Well, that's going to do it for Hollywood and Ivy. We'd like to thank Bob Odenkirk for joining us, and like to thank you for watching where Sunset Boulevard meets Addison and Clark. See you next time, everybody.
Well, this is the year and the Cubs are in. So come on down to Wrigley Field. We're singing now. Go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. Now, go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey Chicago, what do you
Hollywood and Ivy was filmed live at Universal Studios in Hollywood, California. Brigham Avery's wardrobe was provided by Richie Suits of Beverly Hills. Richie Suits, a perfect fit. Catering for Hollywood and Ivy provided by Firehouse Subs. Firehouse Subs, home of the hook and ladder. Hollywood and Ivy is a presentation of Brigham Avery Productions.